All right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Coffee Room with John from ProCraps here on Casino Gaming TV. It's the first of a new week. Finally, we get to jump back into the Gambling 401 today. I'm excited about this. So we have a lot to kind of go over here. So let's jump right into it. News and notes for today. I got to add something on here. I didn't type it in time, but first things first, Alfredo moves on to the finals. Yesterday on Sunday in the afternoon, I actually hosted Alfredo versus Ben, Wisco 330 inside, for their semifinal match in the Craps Nation Shooters Tournament. So it's been a long time. That thing started in like March, right? And here we are in June. The big criticism of that tournament has been how long it's taken. And I think what we all have to realize is that everybody's got lives and schedules, and it's hard to get everybody in at the same time with the host, right? It's very hard to get the scheduling done. And sometimes you get in there and you can't get the stuff to work. Not everybody has a YouTube setup, right? So it's very difficult to get the whole thing working. I'd love to have it to where we could just go, we're all going to give it a weekend and just kind of do a massive thing over a weekend. But man, scheduling is tough on this thing. But all that said, Alfredo crushed it, right? He jokes about it. He was on the bubble, right? He was the last man in from the 32. He was the last man in with a 13 roller. And I think I actually was his host on the first round. So he gets in and runs it all the way to the end here. He's at the end now. It's going to be Alfredo versus G Money. Two friends of mine. So it's going to be, I have no dog in the fight here. I want to see a good match. I hope they both have a good long roll. Should be fun. Got to also call out Joe today, Craftsmaster Journey. Joe says, I had a really good day worth watching. Absolutely. I didn't put this out here because it was too late to get the screen changed, but Joe crushed it today. 37 roller, something like that, leading into my show. I made my paycheck, which is that show is becoming very, I hate to say it, non-exciting for me, but we'll get there. I'll make it better. I promise. We'll talk about that here in a minute. But yeah, good rolling by Joe today. Let's see what's happening here. Podcast galore. I said it last week. I'm really digging the whole Casino Tiers podcast. Again, I just like hearing people BS, right? Like I love that show because, it's 10 Ton and Ed just kind of talking, right? Telling stories. I could listen to casino stories, true or false, embellished or not, all day long. I just love it. Like, because you can picture yourself there, right? Last weekend when I was in Vegas or last week, and I got to interview David from Casino Quest. And again, his Wednesday podcast is becoming now about stories from him as a dealer as he was coming up through the ranks, right? You're going to hear all the crazy stories. Like last week, we heard about the guy that bled all over the table, and you just can't make that stuff up, right? I love that kind of. I could put that on, like I said, on my headphones, walking the dog, driving my car, and all day long. I love that kind of stuff. So Color Up's got one now going too. They're going every Sunday, it looks like. This seems to be their rhythm. So you got Casino Tiers on Tuesdays. You got Color Up on Sundays. Color Up, Jeremy and Jim the Professor. Again, two really good friends of mine. Getting their feet wet doing the podcast thing, right? It's not easy doing a podcast. I can tell you from personal experience. By yourself, it's hard. I tried to do the Fireside Craps for a while alone, and it is hard to talk to yourself and be interesting. It's harder, or as hard, better content-wise to talk to somebody, like I did with JB and with Ed a couple of times, and get the interplay. But getting the scenes right, getting it to look right, getting it to feel organic enough is hard. And getting things that are kind of non-visual so people can hear it when they're walking it's a really hard needle to thread, I think. So, but I love it. I love podcasts. So the more the merrier. There's talk about me getting together and putting the Fireside Craps together again, and doing it, picking a different day. And then we can have 3 of them a week. You have Ed and me and Jeremy all going. Whatever. I think it's good. I think the more of that, the better. I think the more things we can listen to that are not just throwing the frickin' dice and adding up numbers all day long is cool. If I ever did a podcast again, it would be with somebody, for sure. I've actually had some conversations, and it would have to be not just craps. If I did a podcast, it would not be a craps podcast. I don't think it would be more general gambling or more just general BSing or more just kind of life stuff. I think that's how I'd want to probably approach it. So anyway, I think there's more of that in the works. I think that's kind of the long form content is what I think we want, but we don't all just want throwing dice, right? The other thing here is too, the cruises, so many cruises there. I mean, Alfredo just came back from a cruise. I was on a cruise, with Premier hosting, by the way. Let's go here real quick. I'm hosting a couple of cruises, right? One is going to be this one in June, next June the 14th. and coming right back off of that one July 4th. So this is a June out of Florida that I'll be on. That'll be on a Carnival cruise. Coming back to Seattle, there's going to be a cruise to Alaska on July. I think it's July 5th. It leaves next year. So we'll be in Alaska over the holiday, basically. So back-to-back cruising next year. I'll be your host for either of those. I'm also working with Don Wood at Premier right now on a cruise that's going to be March 7th, next March 7th also. So it'll be March 7th. That'll be a cruise out of LA, going up the coast or going down the coast, then June, then July. So boom, 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 back-to-back cruising next year for me. So we have lots of time to get ready for it, but not lots of time because we're only going to have a certain number of cabins. We're only going to bring 20 or 25 cabins full of people. So if you want to be on any of those cruises, I'll put the dates up here for the other ones too. Once I have them locked, let me know. You got my reach out number here, my email address there too. Connect with me and we'll be happy to get you in there and be part of the group. Cruising is so much fun. We are not doing any 4 or 5s. We're doing all 7s as far as I can tell. Only because you want to weed out kind of the weekenders, I guess, and want to have it be a little more serious, a little more time. So the Alaska Cruise Line will probably be Royal, but I'm not 100% sure. Depends on a couple of things. The one I'm looking at right now, Chris, is a Royal out of Seattle, but there's also, I think there's a Norwegian and a Carnival that also go around that same time. We don't have relationships with them yet. We have relationships with Royal and Princess right now. So that's where we're focusing our time on as hosts, but that could absolutely be changing for sure. So anyway, there's that. Oh, we're still talking about Scrapple. That's great from last week. That's awesome. Fantastic. Anyway, Cruise Craps is wickedly cool and stupidly fun, and it was great. I really love doing that. So I think I might be changing my stripes here. Instead of going to the casino on the regular, it may just be going like week-long excursions and spending more time at home. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. What else is happening here? Craps with the Cure update. I'm going to burn through this really quick because there's no new updates from Friday, obviously. I'm still working through things. The big thing is the Crapsy tie-in. I got to get with Chuck. I talked to him over Discord, I think Saturday morning, but the weekend was busy for me and he was out at his cabin, so we didn't get a chance to talk. But I'm going to talk to him about how we can tie Crapsy into this thing. I think, and again, all the donations pieces of aside here, I've got Crapsy on this screen, but also really on the event schedule screen because I want Crapsy involved the entire time. What I really, really want is while we're playing at the live table, and we're going to have, again, hopefully a live table at a casino with real money, right? I would love to see Crapsy involved somehow. And I don't know how it works. Like we've talked about having like an MC running around and sort of interviewing the players and having some fun. I'd like to have somebody kind of betting from a common rack that's for the charity kind of thing. And I thought maybe somebody could be there with a Crapsy board, with an iPad, just logging Crapsy numbers in. That's got to be approved by the casino. Number one, can we have the iPad there to do it? And number two, what does it look like? Like, what is the buy-in? How do we run the table? You know, there's a lot of things to logistically make that happen. And I'm wondering, is there a way to tie in your rebuys, which I think Crapsy charges for rebuys or can be configured to charge for rebuys, have those rebuy charges be donations, something like that. Like maybe Chuck gives that up for a day. Like, but I'll talk to him. I got to get with him and just, I have a lot of what ifs, but I don't know what's possible. So he and I will have to talk and kind of figure some of that stuff out. But that's what's next up on my list there between that and getting our casino partner locked in and loaded so I can actually change from TBD up top there to having an actual casino host for us. But aside from that, my punch list is this: lock in the casino, lock in Casino Quest, those dates, start getting, once I have those two on lock, then I'll get the guests scheduled. Some of the guests will already be in Vegas. Obviously, Bo Parker lives there. Love to get heavy out there. I'm working on, I know George has said he's going to be there. I really would love to get Ed and Waylon out there. God, if I have to drive down to Biloxi and drive them out there myself and have the road trip of all road trips, I would do that in a second. Got to figure out some production stuff, some crew stuff. There's lots to do between now and October. So I'm going to be a busy boy between now and then. But it all starts out with getting this freaking casinos to say, yes, we are doing it. Then I can give you a date. Then I can actually get it. I forgot to ask David about tipping. I totally forgot. It was on my list. We got so busy with everything else, I forgot to ask him. So I'm actually emailing him today about something else. I will put that on my email today and ask him that exact question. I totally forgot about it, Chris. Yeah, whoopsie for me for sure. You are always welcome as a podcast guest, Jen, for sure. Um, I'd like to have the podcast be, a couple of, like a regular, not even host co-host, but just two hosts kind of thing, Um, but yeah, and I've talked to somebody about it. Um, I think it's a great marriage. It's a good partnership attempt. And matter of fact, I've talked about having two different podcasts. I'm not sure I want it to be just craps again, right? Because there's a lot of that out there, and I don't want to do a been there, done that kind of a thing, but I also want it to be interesting. So there's again a lot of work to be done. I wish I had a freaking job so I could not stress about that and focus on some of this fun stuff with y'all. But um, let's see. They are gamblers. We're talking, Ryan, not about regular tipping, but about tipping during the event. This is for Craps for the Cure. And what I want to do is find a way that, because again, at Crash for the Cure, you're going to have a live 24-hour table, right? With a bunch of people that are going to be on the table for a very short amount of time, an hour or two for each person, probably, while we swap people out. And I would like to have the dealers involved in that game on a regular tipping basis to where they're being taken care of by us. Because again, for them, it's an extra shift. It's not going to be part of their regular work. It's going to be probably an extra shift. Let's find a good, reliable way to take care of them so that they're not just, I don't want to run it into a thing where they're working an extra shift and we're gambling for them and we're just throwing their money into the garbage can. I want to make sure we're on a way to kind of get them something on the regular. So I'll talk to David about some ideas. He might have some different ideas for us than I think outside the box that we're normally thinking about. So I will ask him for sure. Absolutely, Kev. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think Jen's right. A pass line bet, something simple that just keeps them in the game. But I'm even thinking of like things I don't even know. I gotta just let me talk to David. I have some ideas on some things we can do, and he has ideas as well. Again, it's a different situation. It's not a normal table. It's a different situation than normal because of how we're going to configure things and how the rhythm's going to go. I just want to make sure that we make it worth their time, and they want to keep. Hey, this is a great event. We want to come back and do it again. So that's my number one thing with this thing is make sure that we all A, can afford to do it, and B, it's worth it for them to be there. So that marriage has to be a thing because obviously we're looking to marry up, right? So there's that. All right, daily paycheck. I did not update the screen, but we won again today. It should be June profit and loss is 1-0. We're 1-0 today. I had a disastrous math problem again. Monday mornings, I'll tell you what. What happened was this. I set a point of something. I don't know what it was. What was the point? 5? Point of 5, I think, and got paid on that. And then I hit something else and got paid on that, which was $1,000, right? But we had $100 on the horn. So I burned $200, earning the 1,000. So I went, okay, we're going to pull it all down. We're going to go 750 across, get the last hit to make our paycheck number. That's when the 7 came. So we basically started over. We started the whole thing up $100. Went back out there, got my paycheck again, pulled the money down. I was short $500. I had to repay the whole damn thing. So another screw up by me ruined the show again, but we got through it. We made our check and we got through it. So we won $1,300 today, which was good. I'm happy we got that. Then I went out there with $500 and I did this excess play test bed review number 3. So first we didn't ease in. 2, I did the hit it and get it. 3, the excess play was $500 and I played basically the way I played a casino. I went inside, I pressed up, I came down and spread out. So 2 hits in, the hit and then the second hit, we were across for 64 with $50 in profit. Got my money back, got $50 locked, 64 across. It's a perfect three-phase play. It took us 8 rolls to get there because it was horn numbers and all this other crap. And then of course, we did a collect, right? We did same bets and then we pressed up looking for a collect and press move. We ended up winning only $60, right? 17 rolls in, we won $60. So not the greatest showing, but that's what happens, right? Craps is like that. You can get a 17 roller, make $60 because you're not going after it. If I just would have same betted the entire time, we would have made more money in this case. And I've said to you before, the same bettors make more money on the early to mid rolls, right? Or the short to mid runs, they make more money. So that's part of what we're going to do here. I'm going to talk to you a little bit here about the series coming up and how it's going to happen. But what I'm going to do is this. On the excess play, after we make our paycheck, I'm going to run a separate bankroll, a second paycheck bankroll, $500 a day. We'll log in there with that. We're buying with that. We'll play it out. and I'll do some basic testing. I may do like a mind thing. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. I'll think about it. We're going to do some more testing, more strategy, because I want to do like the whole let's play a strategy for a month thing and see how it works. But I want to do it at $500. Let's do like with a regular size bank buy-in and a $10 table instead of going with the hog wild stuff we're doing now. I do think the daily paycheck is teaching us something, right? And it's teaching us this. I'm not sure if this screen will show up, but this is our totals here, right? We're up $28,000, right? With today's wins. Again, I got to update the screens. But what it's showing us is that the compounding wins are where this is at, right? If you take a look here, we're buying in every day. This screen doesn't show. We're buying in for 20% of our total, right? So 20% of $28,000, we're buying in for about $6,000 now. Okay. So as you win more money and stack your master bankroll, the buy-in is bigger, $6,000 buy-in. And we're trying to win 15% of that, right? Or I'm sorry, reverse, 15% of our master bankroll, 20% of our buy-in. When you're buying in for 6 and looking to win 20%, you're betting bigger, right? So the bets are out there like, oh my God, he's betting $3,000 at a time, which I would never do in a casino, right? Unless I had $50,000 in the bank and I was buying in for 6, then sure you would, because it's no different than buying it for $600, right? The idea of that part of the show is compounding your wins. More money in the bank means bigger buy-ins, means bigger bets, which means bigger wins. And every day when that increases, it increases, right? And it makes it go faster. Instead of winning $100 a day, you're winning $1,000 a day. Pretty soon, hopefully, cross your fingers, we'll be winning $2,000 a day, and $3,000 and $4,000, and you'll be at the 100. Like the hockey stick goes like this. It's like, nothing for 4 or 5 months, and all of a sudden you're making a bunch of money. That's how it's going to look for us. It's going to be like a hockey stick kind of a graph. That's what I'm hoping for. So the paycheck way we're playing it, bankroll wise, proves that out. It's not proving any longer what strategies are the best, because the 2100 salute, the Dallas drawdown, they're 2 hits and out strategies. It's pure luck. It's, can I get out there and throw 2 times and no 7s? It's really a luck based thing right now. So it's not interesting from a crap standpoint. It's interesting from a luck standpoint. I could just as easily take that $6,000, put it up on the first dozen, and spin the roulette wheel and get lucky, right? And one day I'll win 2 units, one day I'll lose a unit, right? And it's no different. If you're going to YOLO it, the show becomes less interesting, but the money management piece becomes the story. I'm going to go back to a small bankroll and do some strategy testing as we go. So that's the plan for that show, and we'll start getting it there. I will never get the table max, I don't think, Jen, because even at a $10,000 or $15,000 buy-in, I'll still be at $1,000 max bet across. I'm never going to probably go past $1,000 max, right? Probably not. And even so, there are tables that have a $2,000 max. I shouldn't never hit the table max on a per bet basis. I should only be, like I said, max at about $1,000. And even then becomes 2 hits at $1,000 is you're getting to be $3,000-$4,000 in profit. So we should be aware of that, or I should keep that in under observation, I guess. Make sure we don't cross that line. So, alrighty. So let's go ahead here. Let's get out of the paycheck stuff. Let's get back into our gambling series. Okay. And here I note, right? Gambling 101. Right now we're going to start tying all this stuff. But yeah, Washington's a $500 max. That is a total joke. But you know what? I don't hit it that often anyway. Like when you're betting $10 minimum bets, getting the max is hard, right? You only get table max if you're crushing it. Anyway, here we go. Let's wind it back, right? We've been doing this gambling, how to be a good gambler series for a long time. Now we're in 401. Okay. We've gone through 101, 201, 301. We've gone through psychology. We've gone through bankroll management. We've gone through math. But let's bring it home, right? Goals being your North Star. We're going to talk a lot about goals in this course. Strategy. This course is all about really goals and strategy kind of working together, which I think is the key to making you quote unquote a winner, if there is such a thing. Bankroll, accounting for how you lose. Mindset, right? How we connect everything up, and having discipline to get the hell out of the casino. Okay. Today's a good example. I bought in for $500 in that second run. I did a little two-phase play, right? We did a little press, regress, same bet, locked up some profit. We didn't get the big profit, so we walked away. That's discipline, right? I also put a time limit on myself, which helps out too. But that's it, right? Succeeding at these games is just being able to connect the dots and not going out there without a plan. I think planning is where it's all at. So We're going to take a look today at the 10,000 foot view of where I want to get to with the series. So for Gambling 401 is going to take us along a journey of about 20 shows, probably over the course of 5 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, depending on if I go to Vegas for a week or not. But basically 20 shows. Here's how they're going to shake out. Okay. The first module that we're going to go through in this series is going to be about the basics of high level gambling. Okay. And what I mean by that is this: my number one goal for you at the end of this series is to be able to craft your own strategy that's a quote unquote winning strategy. Now, again, you cannot reliably win in the casino. Let's be honest about that. But I would like you to be able to craft your own way to play. There's a million strategies out there, right? You got Ryan from Mark the Points putting out a strategy or two a week, right? Jeremy does about one a week. Waylon does 2 or 3 a day. There's strategies abound, okay, that other people have concocted through whatever means they have. I want you to have the tools to make your own strategy. And it starts out with understanding tomorrow what a strategy is. We'll define what a strategy is. Then we're going to take a look at goals and being honest about your goals. And I have said this many, many times to you. Your goals are not always the same. Some days my goal is to make $50, right? If I'm going on the regular, right? A good example at a casino, my goal might be to do a coffee run, get up early, go to Starbucks, walk up to the table, put out $500 and try and win a couple hundred. Try and win 100, reset the bankroll, try and win 100, reset the bankroll and get out. Because later on in the day, we're going to meet up with friends and I can now buy in for 700 and have a little bit higher bets, or I can take the $200 and be aggressive with the $200, right? Go 64 across and just full press, right? Sometimes your goal is to set yourself up for later. Sometimes your goal is that home run. Be honest about that. Sometimes you're out there just to kind of just let it hang and see what happens. But setting the goal and being honest about it ahead of time is important every time you go to the table. Going out there with $500 and just saying, let's just see what happens. That's where your money goes bye-bye. Okay. Then we're going to talk about exposure. I talk about exposure all the time. Time is your enemy, right? What you're going to lose to out there is your enemy. How much money you have at risk is your enemy. How much money you have is your enemy, right? All the ways you can expose yourself to getting hurt. You got to understand that so that in our next episode, we can optimize our play style to account for the exposure that you're okay with. Like if you're okay with being out there for a long time, you cannot have huge bets. If you are scared to death of time, like I am, you have bigger bets for a tinier amount of time. It ends up all being the same in the end, right? Losing a little bit over a long period of time or a lot right now, it's all the same. It's about how you want to have the experience and how you want to attack the thing. But you can't do that to understand it, okay? And obviously, you're going to lose. There's days where we lose. Today, we lost, right? Today, we went out there. We won $1,000 or we won $800. I needed $300 more, reduced my bets and lost my regression. What's my recovery plan? Well, I did the same exact play again because I basically started over again. But if I was upside down, I may have done something different, right? What is your recovery plan when your strategy or play style fails? Okay. And number 6, again, it just doesn't matter. I'm going to recap this idea of winning or losing a little bit very often versus losing a lot right now is the same thing, right? So in other words, like betting on just the 4, betting across, there's no difference there. It's a matter of how you want to experience your time. That's our module 1, getting basics kind of set up so that you can start building your strategies. Module 2, I'm going to take a deep dive into play styles. Okay. And I've talked about this randomly throughout our shows, but I look at all the games and there's only a few ways you can play. You can stand pat. You can be a same better. Go out there on Baccarat, drop a quarter out there and just play the quarter all day long, right? You can go 160 across and same bet forever, right? That's a way to play. And believe me, the people who stand pat sometimes make more money than the people who try and grow their bankroll, right? Go out there with a smaller level and try and grow things up, right? Again, it depends on how you see it. Do you want to be a small outlay and grow your bets, or just go out there here and just stay there for a while, right? Do you want to be like I've been doing, a bigger outlay and then regress down so you're safe? There's pros and cons to all those ways of playing. There's pros and cons. One way creates a lot of opportunity. One way reduces opportunity but locks up profit. We have to look at the pros and cons and how you want to experience your time at the table. There are many ways to do what's called progressions, right? And I mean like timed progressions, like a specific betting order that you do, mainly on the 50-50 bets. But progressions are a great way to attack streaks, right? Pressing patterns. They're like progressions, but they're different. They're different rhythms. There are negative progressions. I didn't put the word negative there, but negative progressions, the ways that Wayland's Way Craps plays, right? Where you chase your loss with bigger bets. Those can be a really great way to play if your goal is really small. You're looking to win 1 or 2 units. A negative progression until you get that win is a great way to play as long as you don't catch the ugly streak, which will happen to you, but more often than not, you won't, right? And that's the idea of a negative progression. We're going to look at situational play. And at situations, meaning like I've got lots of bankroll, I got tiny bankroll. How do I attack a table in that situation that I've put myself in? How do I attack a table situationally when there's a streak going on or when I'm trying to catch a streak? What does that look like for you, right? So I think those things are ways that you can switch and move. And that becomes what module 3 is applying that knowledge. You understand exposure, goal setting. You understand all the different ways you can put your bets out there, right? The ways you can same bet, you can press, you can progress, you can do a negative progression. All of that is great. How do you apply it? Well, a lot of people do things like combining the play styles. I do that a lot, right? I'll start with a regression and then I'll turn that into something else. Or I'll have a negative progression of the 4 and 10, the Wayland's 4 and 10 ladder, while the inside is playing something different. Maybe the inside is more of an aggressive play. The 4-10 ladder is keeping me afloat, right? That's a combination of play styles, right? Merging play styles might be a thing where you move it in through phases, right? Start this way, then do this, then do that. And sort of situationally change what you're doing based on your bankroll situation. Go out high, come on down. When I'm down, I'm playing more aggressively for a short period of time. Once I get my lock, then I have a rhythm to it, right? Lots of ways to do that. And that's where I think combining, merging, and phasing your play can really change the way that you experience your wins out there. It may limit you in some cases, which is okay with me. But understanding how you can lock it up, lock it in, lock it down, right? That's a big thing, the discipline piece of this. Putting it together, I think your strategy has to meet your goal, right? My goal is to earn enough money to play later today with my friends. My goal is to earn $100 so I can bump up my account. My goal is to say, screw it, I don't care. I'm on vacation. I'm going to try and win the ATS. I'm going to go $15 or $25 pass line 555 and just let it happen, right? That's fine. If you have a strategy to meet that goal that's going to support that goal, then cool, go do it, right? But you got to, again, know all those things we talked about in the earlier sessions to be able to put that together, okay? And then, of course, practicing, right? I think practice is where the perfection comes, right? We're gonna lock ourselves into like not just practicing throwing the dice, right? I'm practicing your patterns, practicing your bet calls, practicing all of it. That's, I think, where you can make it perfect. Ed Robinson likes to say, practice like you play like you practice, bet like you practice, like you want to bet, right? And your betting practice, I think, is as important too. All that together, right? You get all these 20 classes that I've got figured out for us together. At the end of all that, you should be able to say, look, when I've got this much money and this much time, and this is my goal, this is the way that I want to play. This, of all those play styles, matches my mindset from Gambling 101 to play the way I want to play. I want you to be able to craft your own way. I'm not going to tell you how to play here. I'm going to show you some strategy, but I'm not going to give you a way to play. I'm going to give you ways to play, and hopefully you can piece it all together in your own way. That's my plan. All right. Now we're going to end the series with 2 fun episodes. Of course, 10 mistakes that all losers make and 10 habits that all winners have in common. I might do another couple of top 10 lists in the end here, but I can absolutely see us bringing in people on certain days to talk about certain things. For example, when we talk about negative progressions, I'll probably have Wayland on to talk about how does he play and how does he approach the table from a negative progressions way, right? I will have roulette players on to talk about progressions because roulette is famous for progressions, right? And of course, we'll talk craps pressing and regressing because that's a big thing. But yeah, I think that's what we're going to get to. I think that's the idea of the series. And again, we'll start tomorrow with module 1, class 1, creating a strategy, which is going to be defining what a strategy is and the pieces that you need to put one together. And I want you to kind of start. I might even have like a little worksheet, like to think about what are the parts that you've got to consider as you build your own way to play. And again, crafting your own way to play, I think, is the thing. JR has a great little point here. I'm going to go to the end and hit the Q&As here because I think it's time for that, where he says, do not guess at all, right? And this actually locks into the point that I made earlier of it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you just bet the 4, like I was going to do this, if I just bet $100 4 every single time, right? It doesn't matter. I'm going to lose that $100 6 times. I'm going to win 100. I'm going to win $200 3 times. We're going to be in that. We're going to lose the vig basically. But that's where we're going to be if I just do that. If I were to go 160 across, the same thing. I would lose 160 6 times, right? But I'm going to win 35 to $50 24 times. At the end, we're going to be in the exact same spot. We're going to lose the same 15, $20. It doesn't matter, right? Jay says, don't guess, lock it in. Play your comeback and your odds. Doesn't matter. You're going to lose whatever the house edge is on your bets over the course of time. Where you catch up and win is when you catch the run where you win more often than you ought to and you stop, right? Or when you recognize that, right? And you change away to lock, right? There's where you can take advantage of a win. But don't guess. Don't go out there and try and chase stuff. That's the biggest problem we have, right? Let's see. You're right. It's all over 1,000 rolls. You're 100% right. But at the moment that you're in, you're going to see a couple hundred rolls, right? I get it. The law of big numbers will still catch you at some point, right? So if that short period of rolls is the time that you're seeing all the 7s and you're on the 4, you're going to get screwed. That's when you're going to lose your 6, right? The next time out there, you might win the 4 times. So you're up $200 over the course of 2 days. On a cruise ship, that's what you see a lot, right? When you're playing 6 hours, 4 days in a row, you get these big weird swings where you don't see any 4s for a while. Then that's all you see, right? Going to the casino once a week or once a month, you still experience that. You just don't experience it in rapid succession. So let's see. What do we have here? I'm going to check for PCs and see if any more questions and comments came up here. So mark the point. We already answered this question, but I'll do it again. Any 4 or 5 night versus 7 8. We're looking for mostly 7s. Again, just better, more things to do. You get more time at sea. When you're on a shorter cruise, you're not at sea very often. You're in port more often. So you don't get enough gambling time. Let's see. What else here? Let's see. Let's see. Ed talked about us on his 6 bourbons episode. Oh, good. Yeah. Maybe I didn't see that one. I'll have to go watch that again. Gary says, I'm a great instructor. You're 62, and I wish this kind of information was available when I started in the 80s. I'll tell you what, when I started in the 80s, so I graduated high school 86. And in those days, my parents, told the story, my parents owned a bookstore in Cape May, New Jersey. And we went to the casinos. They went almost every weekend. And they would take us kids with them. Me and my older brother would go. He was 2 years older than me. So, 17 and 19 years old, we would go up there. And in those days, you could be on the floor. You couldn't gamble, but I could be on the floor. I would stand behind my dad and watch him play, stand by my mom. They used to play blackjack. They used to play blackjack, first base, and 7th base, right? All the time. And they would kind of work the shoe together. They were kind of fun to watch. I would watch craps. I'd watch all the games. And that's how I learned kind of by watching. But my dad bought me the John Patrick not DVDs, the VHS tapes. And I would watch all the John Patrick VHS tapes. And he had a little cable show that was on in those days back in Jersey. And that's where I got it from. This information was out there, but not to this level. I'm giving it a different level here than Patrick ever did. But his basic concepts of like being smart, understanding your bankroll, having a goal, being disciplined, all those things were drilled into my head by him. And I think over the years, I don't lose a lot. I'll lose a little bit, but I won't lose a lot. Taking $2,000 on a cruise and playing 6 hours a day for 7 straight days and walking out only losing $400 is, to me, it's a great performance, right? With all the PSOs that we had, we had a couple of home runs in there that I wasn't in there for. Otherwise, I might have been in profit. But that's, to me, that's the way I've always played, right? I've not gone crazy because that disciplined nature that Patrick and my parents taught me when I was younger is the reason why. So anyway, yes, Holy Roller, we've talked about getting together and talking about cruising. I am loving the cruising. We've talked about doing some some shows together, Brian and I, about cruising and about some other things, for sure, about faith and about keeping true to yourself. Like there's a lot of Brian and I have got a lot in common, and I think I want to explore some more of that with him. So I think we should get together for sure and talk. Um, I preferred it when it was run by the boys, and AC was that way too. Here's the thing. This is kind of funny story. I was telling David about this. I grew up in Jersey, right? And anybody from the East Coast would know when I say this, the town of Hoboken. When I say Hoboken, everybody type in the chat. When I say Hoboken, what do you think? If you're from the East Coast, you should all be writing the same thing. Hoboken was the cleanest town ever, right? It was literally Hoboken borders New York. New York was a shithole. Hoboken was like the cleanest. You could eat off the streets in Hoboken. Why? Mob town, right? Mob towns, no crime. You don't mess with the mob. There's no crime in a mob town because criminals don't last very long in a mob town. And yeah, you're under mob rule, I guess, right? Whatever you want to call that. But they're clean. They're very low crime. And they do things a certain way. And Vegas was like that, right? You go to Vegas and you win a little bit. The pit boss walk up to you, hey, you're having a great day. Go stay in a room. Here's some dinner, right? It was at their discretion what they would do for you comps wise, right? It was at their discretion whether or not you got a higher limit at a table. At their discretion, all these things, right? And again, you didn't have maniacs. It wasn't so corporate. Now you got the bean counters that are saying, oh, if we do 6 to 5 blackjack on 4 of our tables, it's going to increase our numbers by X%. That's what's changed, right? Comps are now computerized. Everything is you go to a slot machine now, right? You don't get a drink until the light comes on because you bet enough money, right? That's bullshit. I hate the way the corporate has ruined everything. I understand it because there's a bottom line to hit, but if you look at the chart that Jeremy put out last week on his podcast, they did a podcast. They were looking at like his craps to dying game, and they were showing like the number of tables and what percentage of revenue the tables brought in. It's interesting. They didn't talk about this on the show, but it came up to me was in the last 5 years, right? Blackjack has gone from the dominant game to Baccarat being the dominant game. And I mean by a lot, not by a little bit, by a lot. 80% of the tables were blackjack. Or no, 50% were blackjack and they made 80% of the revenue. Now it's like 40% are blackjack and it's like 65% revenue, whatever it was. There's a big drop in revenue from blackjack. Why do you think that is? Right? It's because 6 to 5. People are not playing as much 6 to 5. So it's not bringing in, even though the house edge is higher, it's not bringing in enough money because people aren't playing it. They are playing Baccarat. Baccarat is a very stable game for the casinos. And Baccarat with higher limits is who they're attracting, right? You look at the crisscross of Baccarat and blackjack, there's reasons for that, right? But that's bean counters getting in the way of it. If they just left well enough alone, blackjack was 80% of the revenue and it was making a lot. The overall revenue was higher when blackjack was the dominant game. It's just not anymore, right? And I think that's over corporatization of this whole thing. It's a shame. So that's my answer. Yeah. Would you get sick? It depends on who you're talking to, Dan. It depends on who you're sitting with. Cruise ships are closed systems, right? The water's coming from a common place. You're breathing the same air, but you can get outside. The nice thing about a cruise ship, you can get outside a lot, and there's a lot of space to get away. For me, I don't know if this is a trick, whatever, but I was on the airborne and the vitamin C, like the immuno, whatever, the immuno boosters the whole time. And I was on double doses. I took a double dose of immuno stuff before the cruise for a whole week. On the cruise, I kept that going every single day. I made sure that and there's hand sanitizers everywhere and just kind of keep yourself clean. So, seasick. You will not get, I'm sorry. Thanks, Jen. I didn't feel it. So I agree, Dan. I was, on the ferries here in Seattle. You can feel those things rocking as they go across the channels. You can feel that. On the cruise ship, I didn't notice it very much. A little bit, you'd feel a little like one of those. I almost never noticed it. Jen, you can speak to this too. And Brian, I don't even know. I mean, once I felt a little, that was a big little dip, but really I didn't feel it at all. I didn't feel anything. So I would say no, but a lot of people had those things, those little patches that they wear behind their ears to keep them from getting seasick. And those things apparently help a lot. So I think for the long haul, you can do that. All right, that's it, guys. It's 10 of 8. I got to go to work. So my final thoughts are this. I hope you enjoy the upcoming series. Please come engaged, right? If you've got questions, if you've got thoughts of your own, if you've got things that I did not cover. So if I go back to those screens where I was talking about the 3 modules, applying your strategy, understanding the play styles, and the basics. If there's a topic you want me to cover that's not here, you can email me, john@procraps.net. You can get me on Discord. I think I'm just at J Kokos or John Kokos on Discord. Connect with me and say, I want you to talk about insert thing here. And we can make sure that during the How to Win series, we do that. Because I think tying all the things together, how do you win, is all about how do you construct your play styles. So whatever you want to know, ask me. This can go 22 sessions or it can go 32 sessions. I don't care, right? If you want more information, let's talk through it. All right. There we go, guys. You'll have a great day. Happy Monday. Happy June. And I'll see you in the next one. God bless everybody. Bye.